Welcome to this webinar, which is a follow-up to an earlier Insight webinar on Early Years Education Inspection. This webinar provides insights into how your Early Years Education Inspection Report is processed for publication, the steps in the publication process, and how you can respond to your Early Years Education Inspection Report. It is recommended that you view the Insights webinar on Early Years Education Inspection before you view this webinar. As you are aware, Early Years Education Inspections aims to affirm and assure quality in early years education and to support improvement through respectful co-professional engagement. As previously mentioned, the webinar on Early Years Education Inspection provides information about inspections which are carried out by the Department of Education inspectors in early learning and care settings. Early Years Education Inspections are based on a quality framework that is informed by the principles of ASHTR, the Early Childhood Curriculum Framework, and by SHIELTA, the National Quality Framework for Early Childhood Education, as well as national and international research related to early years education and care. The model is strengths-based and is used to provide evaluative information, advice and support in relation to the education provision in your setting. Our early years education inspections aim to promote and support the development and quality of education inspection in early learning and care settings and foster improvement of learning experiences and outcomes for children. Typically, early years education inspections result in the publication of an inspection report. In this webinar, we will explore the various processes and stages as to how an inspection report is developed and published. As education inspectors, our evaluation judgments and reporting are guided by the principles outlined in the Department of Education's Code of Practice for the Inspectorate. This code provides guidance on forming and maintaining professional relationships with early learning and care settings and on the standards that apply to inspectorates' evaluation, procedures and reporting. We report objectively and fairly on the quality provision experienced by children. Inspection reports provide evidence-based judgments about the quality of the ECCE programme provided in your setting. Inspection reports provide information to the public, including parents, on the quality of education in early care and learning centres. Typically, at the end of an inspection visit, a post-inspection feedback meeting is held with the inspector. Owner, manager and practitioners were available, and where appropriate, members of the management board or committee. This meeting is a co-professional discussion. The reporting inspector will acknowledge and affirm the effective practice in your setting. We also advise on actions you can take that can further develop practice and support quality improvement. These are called actions advised. This oral feedback of the main draft findings and the actions advised discussed at the post-inspection meeting forms the basis of your inspection report. As inspectors, we report objectively and fairly on the quality of education provision. We set out clearly and unambiguously the main findings and actions advised arising from the inspection, so as to enhance the motivation and overall capacity of the early years education community to achieve its goals and to bring out improvement in outcomes for learners. We promote fair and balanced reporting of findings, particularly where conflicting evidence is presented. We recognise and acknowledge effective work, progress and achievement. We provide advice in a supportive and constructive manner, and we present action advice designed to support early learning and care settings to engage with our quality framework. In this way, we enable setting leaders and practitioners to set and achieve their own goals for high quality provision and practice. We provide accessible information for parents and the public about the quality of early learning and care settings work, and we also provide an assurance of quality for the public. Typically, within 90 days of an early years inspection, a written report is sent to the setting outlining the inspection findings and the action advised as to how educational provision in the setting can be developed further or improved. The inspection report is eventually published on the Department of Education's website. However, before a report is published, there are a number of important stages it has to go through. In the next slides, we will show you how the report is structured and then explain the various stages in the publication process. Let's take a few moments to become familiar with how your early years education inspection report will be structured. The cover page of your early years education inspection report will include the name and address of your early learning and care setting, your setting's Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth number, and the date of inspection. Page 1 of all early years education inspection reports highlight what exactly an early years education inspection is and outlines the 4 broad areas which an inspector evaluated and reported on during their visit. It gives you some guidance on how to read your report. Typically, pages 2 to 5 of your inspection report contain the following: a small table which briefly lists out the activities undertaken by the inspector during their visit to your setting. These typically include activities such as meetings, observation of learning environments, conversations with practitioners and children, and review of available documentation. Next, there is a paragraph describing the context of your setting. This might include information such as the size and location of your setting, whether it is private or community, full day or sessional, and how many children or practitioners were present during the inspection. The Department of Education recognises that factors such as size, location, socioeconomic circumstances, children's specific needs, and the support they required may impact on the provision and practice of the setting. We as inspectors recognise these factors and take each early learning and care setting's specific context into consideration when we evaluate. Next, the main findings of the inspection and any actions advised are presented and categorised under the 4 broad areas of the Department of Education's quality framework for early years education inspection. Area 1 looks at the quality of the context to support children's learning and development. Area 2, the quality of processes to support children's learning and development. Area 3 examines the quality of children's learning experiences and achievements. And Area 4 addresses the quality of management and leadership for learning. We state clearly in the first line of each of the 4 sections what the quality level is. These will have been discussed with you at the post-inspection meeting. The quality continuum used by inspectors has 5 levels, which range from excellent to very good to good, fair and poor. We set out clearly and unambiguously the main findings of the inspection under each of the 4 areas. The actions advised, if any, will have been discussed with you at the post-inspection meeting. They are designed to support you to engage with the quality framework and provide important direction for your setting's ongoing quality improvement. A summary table of overall ratings for each of the 4 areas is included at the end of the findings. As we have just mentioned, inspectors use a quality continuum when analysing and reporting on our findings. So in this example inspection report, the summary of the overall inspection states: Area 1, the quality of the context to support children's learning and development was evaluated to be very good. Area 2, the quality of the processes to support children's learning and development. Area 3, the quality of the children's learning experience and achievement. And Area 4, the quality of the management and leadership for learning, were each evaluated to be good. Beneath the summary of your inspection, there is a table with helpful information on the language used in early years education inspection reports. As you can see in this sample inspection, in this early learning and care setting, Area 1, the context to support children's learning and development, is highly effective in meeting the needs of children, and the remaining 3 areas have been evaluated to be effective in meeting the needs of children, with some aspects to be developed. Now that we've explored what an early years education inspection report looks like and how it is structured, we will now explain the publication process. Let's take a brief overview first before we explore each stage in more detail. First, an early years education inspection is conducted in your setting. Then a post-inspection feedback meeting is held to share the findings, finalise the evaluation and discuss actions advised to improve quality of provision and practice in your setting. This feedback meeting is an important part of the inspection process. It allows for communication of the main draft findings of the inspection to be discussed. It also provides opportunities for clarification of any information and for discussion about how the early learning and care setting can further develop through implementing the actions advised. A draft inspection report is then finalised by the reporting inspector following the completion of the feedback meeting. The report presents the main findings and actions advised of the evaluation. It is processed through the normal quality assurance procedures of the inspectorate. This draft report is then issued to you by the Department Secretariat for Factual Verification. Following this, your inspection report is issued to you a second time for setting response. And finally, your early years education inspection is published on the Department of Education's website, along with the setting response if one has been provided. We will now look in more detail at the factual verification, setting response, and publication processes. As we have seen, following the completion of an early years education inspection and post-inspection feedback meeting, the reporting inspector writes a draft inspection report which presents the main findings and the actions advised of the evaluation. This draft report is then processed through the quality assurance procedures of the inspectorate. The reporting inspectorate forwards the draft report to a senior inspector for editing. The report is then forwarded to an assistant chief inspector for review and then issued to your setting. During your inspection, you will be asked to confirm who your setting's designated contact person will be. The designated contact person could be the owner, the manager, or a representative of the management board or committee. All correspondence between the department and your setting will be conducted with this designated contact person. The Secretariat of the Inspectorate will issue your setting's draft inspection report by email to the designated contact person. They will also receive a factual verification form to complete if necessary. The designated contact person now has an opportunity to draw attention to any statements in the early years education inspection report which they believe to be errors of fact. If the designated contact person identifies any factual inaccuracies in the report, they are asked to complete the factual verification form and return it to the Secretariat within 5 working days. If you have identified any factual inaccuracies of your draft early years education inspection report, the Secretariat will refer your factual verification form back to the reporting inspector. The report may then be amended if necessary within 5 working days. If your designated contact person does not respond to the factual verification email within 5 working days, it is assumed that you are satisfied that the report is accurate. The report is then prepared for setting response. Let's look at some examples of what can be considered to be factual inaccuracies. The address of my preschool is Manor Hall, not Manor House. The report states that there were 21 children present on the day of the inspection. This is inaccurate. There were 22 children. After your draft report has been through the factual verification process, a finalised report is prepared. The finalised report is issued, again by the Secretariat by email, to the designated contact person in your setting for setting response. It is strongly advised that this final report is shared with all management and staff who participated in and were involved in the inspection. The designated person in your setting is invited to complete the setting response form, which will be emailed with the final report. There are 3 options, A, B, and C, and you must choose one option. Option A, the owner or manager accepts the report as the final inspection report and does not wish to respond formally to the report. Option B, the owner or manager accepts the report as a final inspection report and wishes to respond formally to the report. The owner or manager agrees that the response submitted will be included as an appendix to the report. The owner's or manager's response is submitted below. The owner or manager does not accept the report as the final inspection report and is making a request for review of the inspection in accordance with the published procedures of the Department of Education and Skills for the review of inspections. The owner or manager will submit or has submitted a written request for a review to the Office of the Chief Inspector. The purpose of having a setting response is firstly to allow your setting to respond to and make comments on the content of the report, and secondly, to allow your setting to set out the actions that you have taken or plan to take to address each of the actions advised in the report, such as your plans for self-evaluation and planning, and improvement in the quality of your provision and practice. Response Part A allows your setting to comment on the content of the report. It is important to note here that individuals such as practitioners, children and inspectors may not be named in the setting response. Also, comments on the inspection process may not be included in a setting response. Response Part B provides an opportunity for your setting to indicate what actions you have already taken or intend to take. We often see that settings include commentary in their setting response as to how they have engaged in self-review and reflection practices to implement an agreed plan of action to address the actions advised in their early years education inspection report. This can highlight your setting's pledge to quality improvement and help to reassure the public of your commitment to continually improving high-quality early learning and care experiences for children. If a response is not received from the designated contact person of your setting, and if option C has not been availed of within the time limit of 10 working days, a null response is assumed, and your inspection report is published by the Inspectorate on the Department of Education website within a further 5 working days. Early Years Education inspection reports are published on the Department of Education website. If your setting has selected option A, the inspector will publish the inspection report with no setting response. If your setting has selected option B, the inspector will publish the inspection report with your setting's response as an appendix to the report. Other than in exceptional circumstances, the setting response will be published in its entirety, with the exception of the signature of the designated contact person at the same time and in the same format as the Early Years Education Inspection Report. If for any exceptional reason the department decides not to publish the setting response, the inspector will inform the designated contact person of this decision and the reason or reasons for it. The publication of the report usually takes place within 10 working days of the receipt of the completed inspection report setting response from the setting. The Inspectorate Secretariat will send an email to the designated contact person, typically 24 hours in advance of the report being published. The department website can be accessed at www.education.ie. Inspection reports can be accessed on the Popular Topics sidebar menu on the left of the home page of the website. In the Popular Topics menu on the home page, click on School Inspection Reports. This will take you to the Inspection Reports and Publication page. Here you will find links to Early Years Education Inspection Reports. Here is a list of further information and resources which may support you. This brings us to the close of this webinar, and we'd like to thank you for listening. We hope it provides helpful advice. If you have any direct queries or comments arising from your engagement with this webinar, please use the dedicated email address provided to send your comments to us on insights_info@education.gov.ie.